Hello and welcome to the Cinematic Dogma podcast. I am Jose and I'm joined every week by my, I don't know if controversial is the best word to define you, but my friend Blake.
I was waiting with great anticipation for today's pun. I was like, how can he do it politically correctly?
I decided to just keep it because before I start recording, it's like, okay, Jose, what can you use here? Is be careful. Yeah, there are many things that you shouldn't say here as a joke.
And why do we need to be a little bit careful?
So this week we are going to talk about the controversial, in some ways, Emilia Pérez by Jacques Audiard.
Could you say that the titular character's name with full Spanish accent?
Emilia Pérez.
Pérez. So it's on the first E in the second name? Pérez. Not Perez.
Yeah, and
Americans
and I must say,
okay.
and I should actually say Emilia Pérez.
Emilia Pérez. Okay.
Because it takes place in Mexico. So in Mexico and in most Latin American countries,
It's not
they
that
said, it's more as,
Okay, well,
but
we watched Emilia
Emilia
Pérez.
Yeah. I don't know if this was really my pick.
I know that it was your pick. 100% that it's your pick. Don't try and pretend.
Okay, that's fair. Let me just give some context. I don't know when this podcast is going to go out, but some months ago we were in Spain. I was in Spain for PTO, then you joined me. And before that, I was with a friend and we were talking about, let's go to the cinema to watch something, as we usually go every time that we see each other. And he told me, he's like, I haven't watched Emilia Pérez yet, and I heard that I can be interested. This is by Jacques Audiard, the guy that made The Prophet, Rust and Bone, blah, blah, blah. I was like, yeah, I don't really want to watch it. It's true that it's a musical. It's a transgender story that I think that is great that it happens, but I didn't hear the best things about it. And Selena Gomez pretends to be a Spanish speaker, and I think that can be pretty painful. We still went to watch it. I was not expecting much, but after watching it, I just felt like... I felt stuff.
You felt like you wanted to make me watch it. That's what you felt.
But not immediately. I think that it was more when the Oscar nominations came up, and I said, oh, this is going to be a controversial movie. This is... That if it wins something in Cannes, it's fine. It's it's still a very low impact, let's say. But when it's nominated to 10 Oscars or whatever it is that, people are going to be paying more attention and they're going to be poking holes at it. And this is going to be a super controversial topic. And oh boy, it is. Thanks also to Karla Sofía Gascón. But that's a different topic.
All right. Well, thank you for explaining why you made me watch this film.
As this was my pick, did you want to summarize it?
Yes, absolutely. So the film starts with I actually thought she was a prosecutor, but I clearly misunderstood that her job. Anyway, we follow the character Rita Mora Castro, who is an attorney in Mexico City, and she's a defense attorney. And in this case, she's actually defending a rich businessman who murdered his wife, but she was going to be able to get him off saying the wife committed suicide, and she's very conflicted about this. And she doesn't have enough time or money, but then she is contacted mysteriously by a mystery man who ends up being a cartel kingpin named Juan. He goes by Manitas Del Monte, and he's like, hey, if you want to be my special employee, I'm going to pay you a ton of money. You need to complete some tasks. And she's like, okay, what are the tasks I'm in? And the task is that he has made the pronouns are going to be complicated here.
Yeah.
She is a woman. Juan Manitas is a woman, and he wants to transition medically. He has a wife and his kid. Kids. His wife is played by Selena Gomez. And basically he hires Rita to arrange for these surgeries, which are complicated because he's a major international criminal, it seems. So finding a place that's willing to do it without having much
the head of a
information.
cartel, of a drug cartel.
Yeah. He also wants to disappear. He's completely leaving his entire life behind, which includes Selena Gomez and his kids, but he wants to take care of them, so he hides them in Switzerland. Ultimately,
And then he pretends that he died.
yes, and he tricks his wife and kids that he died, which I think is unforgivable, to be honest. And I think, honestly, I probably went a little bit too far, but because this is in theaters, maybe that's where we stop. That's not. I would say that covers maybe the first half of the film.
I would add two things, because I think that they're also like a bit important to the controversialness of the movie. Is like one of them is like there is a bit of a time skip after like Manita's transition into becoming Emilia Pérez. Emilia Pérez actually leaves the whole drug world behind. She's just living her life, but after crossing paths with Zoe Saldana, Zoe Saldana with Rita, she decides to open a NGO. Yeah, sorry. I'm still thinking in Spanish. An NGO trying to find people that they disappear because of the cartels. That is a extremely common thing in Mexico. I don't know
For people
what is
to
like
die or the NGO
disappear.
to help. Okay, got it.
Disappear altogether. So it's like what she does is that yes, it's a good service, but the amount of people that disappear in Mexico is that because of the cartels is an insane amount. So basically, it's like after transitioning into a woman, she decides to change her life completely and becoming a good Samaritan. But her past and her desires of still being the mother of her sons, it still drives her down. And I think that's enough.
And it's a musical.
Oh yeah, that's true. And it's a musical. Yeah, I think that's enough. It's still on the cinemas. I think that depending on what happens with the Oscars, it may have a bit of a revival or maybe not. I'm not sure. Let's see. But let me just ask you, did you like it?
Jose, look at me when I say this. I really liked it. I'm not joking.
Okay.
I'm annoyed at how much I liked it, to be honest. And let me give a little bit of context. I did not see this film before we decided to watch it for the podcast. Not because I'm not obsessed with Jacques Audiard. I am. I think he's brilliant. One of my favorite films of all time is The Beat My Heart Skipped, which he directed with Romain Duris in 2005. He did Dupin. He did A Prophet. I like this guy a lot. I think he's like gritty French. Well, I know he's French, but he's like the gritty French, almost like I was going to say the Gaspard Noé of France, but maybe there too. He's not as incendiary, but he has that grittiness to the underworld of that I liked up until this film. That being said, I'm not typically a big fan of musicals, and I'm definitely not a fan of Selena Gomez. So because of those two things, I decided not to watch this. And because of that, I didn't think I would like it. But from the get-go, do you remember the opening scene, or the opening song, when Zoe Saldana sings for the first time, and she's like in a crowd? Yeah. I was blown away. I was like, oh my gosh, this is good.
I could say that some of the musical numbers are okay. The lyrics and musically is pretty mediocre.
That is something I cannot speak to, obviously. The vast majority of this film is in Spanish. So I can't speak to the lyrics, but for me, the subtitles worked. About halfway through the film, I think Jacques Audiard has no idea what the fuck to do with the rest of the script, and it kind of falls apart. It's not a great film, but I enjoyed watching it. I really did, and I surprised myself.
So for me, I had like multiple phases with this movie. When I was watching it, I was like, okay, it's true. The opening, it may be like the best part, but it's like after Manita's transition to become Emilia Pérez, I think the movie starts becoming like worse and worse, and it ends up like a mixture between a soap opera and a Greek tragedy. And like the Greek tragedy part, I just feel is like this is actually something that I can see also in the lyrics that is about like repeating them 100 times. That it almost feels like an opera portraying a Greek tragedy. That is like, no, just repeat 15 times the same sentence. That's enough. That's absolutely fine. every single time that Selena Gomez would open her mouth, I think that I told you this, it was like just scratching with your nails a whiteboard. It's like, no, you are not speaking Spanish. I don't know what you're doing, but stop doing it.
And she is... I feel bad. I don't like her, but I feel bad how much hate she's gotten about this role. She absolutely deserves it. It's so bad. It's distracting.
Yeah.
Like, it's mind-blowingly bad. Like, is it just that Jacques Audiard doesn't speak Spanish, so he didn't understand that she can't act?
Maybe I have, but someone should have stopped him. And then it's like it actually connects to another problem on this movie. This movie supposedly takes place in Mexico. Supposedly. Because just think that is like the three main actresses, none of them is Mexican. The closest one will be Selena Gomez, because she's of parents that they're from Mexico, but she doesn't speak real Spanish.
Why does Zoe Saldana speak perfect Spanish?
Because he's from I don't know if it was Puerto Rico or, and they actually like mention it. Sorry, it's from New Jersey, but the parents are Dominican and Puerto Rico.
I will say that it felt weird that a French director was coming in to make a movie that's very rooted in Mexican, contemporary Mexico, let's say. Like, does he have, not the right, but anybody has the right to talk about anything, but does he have the right perspective?
And that's like one of the problems here. And I think that I sent you a reel some time ago, and they were comparing this. Like, hey, imagine that Alejandro González Iñárritu, that is a well-known director and pretty respected, says that he wants to direct a movie about the 9/11 tragedy.
Well,
and he wants it...
Please, go ahead.
Yeah, and he wants to actually... He's going to be like shooting it in Chile. He's going to be a star by a New Zealand, a British, and a Portuguese, all of them pretending to be from the United States. And it's going to be around Osama bin Laden transitioning to be a woman and then becoming a good person. And how they cannot like run away from their past. It's like, that would be like insane. And here is that they're fragilizing with something that it costs like way many more lives than the 9/11 attack cost every year. And they're like pretending it's like, oh no, it's fine. You can be like a mob from this industry that's you transition, you connect like with your inner self, with your inner soul, and that's fine. Everything is forgotten. You're a good person now. So people in Mexico, they really, really hated it.
So there's a lot I want to comment on. For one, you mentioned, going back a little bit further, that this is like a Greek tragedy melodrama. I'm not saying this, I'm asking the question of somebody who watches more musicals. Isn't that what every musical is? They're melodramas that don't make sense.
Well, just think about when I was saying about the musically, that I feel like this is not musically interesting. I was thinking about Dancer in the Dark. I was going to the other extreme. And it's also a tragedy, but even like with a way more limited scope, I feel like it's a way more interested drama than this one.
But also a melodrama. It's like a soap opera.
It's a melodrama. Sure. It's like a soap opera.
And that's not a criticism. I just wanted to understand how I should be looking
at it. No. I mean, it's even when I was over, my friend says, like, oh my God, this is a super crazy movie. And for me, it's like, dude, this could be like a Oedipus, Electra, all of these like tragedies, like Greek tragedies about like how the past and the trauma of becoming who you want to become can actually backfire. It's like, it's timeless from that perspective. They're like putting it in a contextual Mexico, like just putting it on the modern day, but it could have done in Greek tragedies.
Okay, thank you for that insight. And then going back to what you're saying about if, I can't remember the nationality you mentioned, but if a British person decided to make a movie about 9/11 and then directed it in Chile, all of that, I was immediately reminded of 12 Years a Slave, because it was weird to me, and maybe it shouldn't be, but that a British director was coming in to make a film about American slavery starring a lot of European actors, and I'd always had that question: is Steve McQueen the right person to tell this story? And I had that
At
same
least
question.
he's black.
It's true. I'm not trying to discount that, but why would you? It always was a question to me: is he the right person? And I don't know that Jacques Audiard was the right person. In fact, I'm pretty certain he's not. I would have liked to have seen Iñárritu direct this, to be honest.
Yeah, if it was Alejandro González Iñárritu, at least I know that it would have been shot in Mexico instead of Paris.
And going back to your the film didn't make a light of murders or the cartel, but it didn't treat them with the seriousness it deserved, I feel like.
Yeah.
But that also seems to be a hallmark of musicals. In fact, when you and I and my husband were in Spain, your boyfriend had not joined us yet, there was actually a very heated argument about Evita, the musical, doing exactly the same thing, treating light of something that was horrible. But that just seems like the nature of musicals to me.
I'm sorry. I think that there are different degrees. And I think that is like when you explain why your husband dislikes Evita, it makes complete sense. Because you are frivolizing something like this and even romanticizing it. Like something that happened there. And it's like, oh yeah, you can make a musical about whatever the fuck you want, but it's like implicitly you are watering down what happened there because you turn it into a melodrama. In the case of Evita, it's like she's a heroine. In this case, Emilia Pérez also is like the heroine of I have these hardships in my life, but I have a strong heart that is going to be pushing me forward. Whereas it's like, no, you're evil. It doesn't matter you're a man or a woman. It's like, you're evil.
So I liked what you said because I think it's accurate about Evita romanticizing the Peronists or everything that happened in Argentina.
Yeah, all the Peronism.
Yeah. Do you think that this film romanticized cartels, that kind of...
I don't think that it romanticized them, but I think that it lightens it up. That is, you may have killed 50,000 people in your 20 years as the boss of this cartel, but it's fine because you were a woman inside. Women don't do these things, so yeah, just move on.
So all the things you pointed out up until this, I agree with. I don't particularly have a problem with her becoming a better person. Just because there's a lot more than it transitioning from a man to a woman, right? Like, he was born in Mexico. He was rooted in this kind of dark world where he basically had to kill or be killed, right? And then when he had the funds to go off and be true to himself. I mean, I can see how it seems a little simplistic, but I don't have a problem with that. I understand your complaints, though.
Yeah. I do have a bit of a problem. I do have, I don't, because the thing is, and this is something interesting. I was talking with my parents before this, and they said that, we went to watch La Infiltrada, the movie that I selected for my top 5, and I said, we really liked it. And then he says that, we also went to watch Emilia Pérez. And he told me that, we really like it. It's like, well, immediately I just unpicking. It's like, so what did you think about A, B, C, D? I started just pointing everything, and they were like, well, that's true. That's a bit weird. We didn't know all about the contest around this movie. We didn't know the director was French. We didn't even think that none of them actually are from Mexico. We didn't know that it's not the best way of depicting all of the crimes do by these cartels. It's like, people shouldn't be considering that there is a redemption arc for people that they have killed 50,000 people. And it's not about kill or be killed. It's these are the people that they're giving the orders for just killing human beings. But one of the things that it was super interesting that they brought up is about this kind of having different, different bar of morality depending on who is saying what. So what they were saying, Karla Sofía Gascón now has a lot of controversy associated with her. Probably you saw it.
Yeah, I read a little bit about it, not much.
Yeah, so basically, several things happen first, and then they unearth some controversial racist tweets that she had some years ago. But some years ago, I think that it was 2-3 years ago, not 20. So fairly recent. And of course, is that she went in an interview, she's broke down, that is like, oh my god, I'm no longer that person, I'm really sorry. 2 or 3 years ago, she deleted everything, but also like people were like starting to distantiate this. I saw Saldana was still like defending her, but I think that Jacques Audiard was like, I think that I'm fine. I would just move on from this and not talk too much about her. But what my mother was saying is that, hey, we shouldn't be like criticizing her because with all of the discrimination that she has to go through is that, and that's the thing that I feel like this movie is doing too. That is a bit of a, hey, let's forget about the crimes that she did when she was a man for society, because she was trapping a body that it was not hers. Her soul is a woman, and now that she's a woman, she has a clean slate, and she can be good. She's a woman. And that's the part that I feel is like, no, and Karla Sofía Gascón is proving exactly the same. It's like, it doesn't matter if you're transgender or not. It's like, if you do something bad, it's that there should be consequences for your actions, and not in a Greek tragedy way.
I agree with you about that. The only thing I disagree with you is that the film was trying to say, oh, look, she changed and became a better person. I think the point of the film is, hey, a cheetah can't change its spots. Is that what the phrase is?
I'm sorry.
No.
It's like, I'm going to be like going, I don't know if this is a spoiler alert or not. I'm going to be like giving a mark of this is a spoiler. Let's just remember that the movie ends with a march of people on the street, and she is dressed up as the Virgin. They have like a figure of here, like a Virgin. It's like they consider like a saint.
But the point is how absurd it is, not that she deserves it. I think that's the point the film is trying to make. In fact, keep the spoiler tag on, because there is one point I want to talk about. When Selena Gomez doesn't know she's talking to her husband that she thinks is dead, she's like, oh no, my husband would have killed me in an instant. Like, I feel like that scene was so purposely put there to be like, hey, she's not this woman she's pretending to be. She is a murderer, she's a killer, and she's caused all of these problems that now she's running around like a chicken with her head cut off, trying to be a better person, but she's not. I think that's what the film was trying to say.
Well, what I think that it tries to say is that, hey, you can transition and become a woman, but if you don't leave your past behind, is that all of these things are going to be coming back to you. The thing that Emilia Pérez broke is that, hey, you transition to a woman and you're going to be dead. All of your previous life has to disappear. You have to do a clean slate. But she couldn't. And then she paid that price. That's what I mean about, like, hey, this is a Greek tragedy. Is that you are still like the same person, very, very deep, but you're going to try to do the other. But it's like when you bring like your previous life to you, there is going to be a point where things break apart. And if she had been like, it's like, hey, true, is that I accept that my kids and my ex-wife are no longer in my life, is that her life would have been absolutely fine. And it would have been like that saint. And it's like, at the end, it's a bit more of a, hey, but it's true, is that he may have been a criminal, but look at all of the change that she did in the world. Is that they portray her as a fucking saint because she has like that NGO. And is that even so is Saldana that
She is not portrayed as a saint. She beats her wife as Emilia Pérez. She kidnaps her own children. She's super violent as Emilia Pérez.
But what they're saying is like the public perception, like all of the good that he has done now as a woman with her NGO, is that that's what it makes her a saint. That's what people like applaud. And then, like,
I think the film was just trying to show how stupid those people are. Not that they were celebrating, because they never show Emilia Pérez as a good person, not once.
No, they do. A lot of times. It's like how she dedicates herself to actually just connecting all of these people to actually like, this is what happened with your son.
She starts an NGO, but that's what every war criminal does when they're trying to legitimize. It doesn't mean she's a good person. She's not sad that she killed all those people. She just wants to appear to be a good person.
I think that is her redemption. And I mean, it has been more than a month since I watched it, but it's like for her, is that this is the way of paying for what I did for all of these years.
Emilia does think that, but she's wrong, and the film is pointing that out.
I don't think that it's pointing that out, dude. It's like, this is a very tricky thing. Is that because these are real life tragedies that they happen there, and I feel like they are lighting it up here, and they are giving also that it's like, oh, if you do that, He's like, and you were transgender because that was not like your body. He's like, it's fine. This is your redemption. It's fine. Everything is forgotten.
But what
The problem
says that that's actually her redemption besides she wants to appear like the good guy?
Because people applaud her. People actually love her.
They never even show her helping anyone. The whole point of that is she needs to show everyone that she's making an effort, but they never show like families being helped because that's not the point. She just wants to be the face of an NGO that makes her look like she's doing good things.
Dude, I mean, he does like some of the connections with the other cartels for just like getting these names. So from that perspective,
she does the NGO. That. But the point of the NGO is that it's shallow. It's her shallow attempt to try and leave behind what a bad person she is.
I think that is her way of actually atoning for her crimes. You may consider that that's like not atonement, but I can tell you is that.
But it's not enough. That's the point. It's not enough. She's not enough to atone. She doesn't really care.
Dude, I think that that's the movie that you want to see. It's like, for me, that's something that doesn't land in any way. For me, it's like Jacques Audiard like brought this as like he's trying to atone for the crimes of his past, but part of her nature is never going to leave her, and it's going to be like just ending up in this Greek tragedy like set up. But at the end, it's like people are going to be appreciating the person that she tried to become because of all of the good that she did. Because of an NGO that they were like so successful of just trying, like giving closure to that amount of people when there is NGO, this amount.
They talk about how it's funded by more cartel people. She's taking dirty money to do nothing. Like, they constantly paint her as a shitty person as Emilia Pérez.
I don't think so, dude. I honestly don't think so. And that ending at the end, honestly, you may think a bit more about like, oh, this is like just making fun of those people or just like saying how wrong they are. That parade, I found it like, this is beyond bizarre, because you have been telling me all the time that is like she was a pure soul, she was a nice person at the end.
Name one thing that they tried to show she was a pure soul.
Just helping, dude. Like helping the NGO. I don't know why there is like so much conflict.
They never even show her do good things at all. She wants to have a shallow face of an NGO, but they don't actually help, or they don't show her get help. And she's still beating her wife. She's still taking money from criminals. She's consistently shown to be a bad person. Yes, she tries to clean up her image, but it's trying to clean up her image, not be a better person.
I don't think she's trying to clean her soul. You know, it's that when she actually does like the first favor, you know, like connecting, like giving closure, and she feels that, hey, I love this. I actually love how I feel from this. Is that I want to do this. I want this to be the way of giving back to this community that I hurt so much before.
Yeah, I don't see it. I mean, I respect your view, but that's not the film I saw. It's not.
The film that I saw is not the one that you saw. That I think that is like a bit more of a, this is how you want to see it, but that's not the film that Jacques Audiard had in mind. And it's like the reason why it's so controversial in Mexico, because they're saying that it's like, hey, you are frivolizing all of this. It's like, we wish that we could have like this closure, but we don't. It's like having a non-profit that does that, it would be useful. But having a non-profit that does that, probably people would get murdered from that non-profit.
Yeah, agreed. Well, we had a discussion recently. Mexico really scares me. Like, really scares me.
It really depends about where you go and what you do. You know?
Oh, sure. If you go to the tourist areas, it's fine.
You'll be mostly fine. But yeah. Are we done with the spoilers?
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to finish the spoilers here. Let's just keep it in mind. Let's not spoil anything from here to the end of the podcast. Should we go over the questions? Or do you want? I think we should. Okay. Let's just go over the questions. So,
also, we didn't mention that Edgar Ramirez is in this, and anytime he's on the screen is good for me.
Good, glad to hear. Would you watch Emilia Pérez again?
I don't think so. I mean, I liked it, but it had a lot of problems, and I just don't watch musicals. No, I won't watch this again.
Yeah, I don't think that I will watch it again. I had the feeling that the only reason why I will watch it again, it would be with my boyfriend, as he's Mexican American, and it would be like for just hearing his take. But the more that he heard about the movie, the least interested that he was.
I
At the
couldn't
beginning, he was
remember
like,
whether or
"Yes."
not he had seen it. He has not seen any of it.
No, he hasn't.
Okay.
It's like at the beginning he was like, "Yes, like, we should watch it." And I was like, "This looks really freaking bad." And then when I watched it without him, and I thought he's like, "It's not good." And then when all of the polemics, all the criticism started like just popping up, especially from Mexico, is that he was like, "Yeah, no, I don't want to support this."
If you come across an article that's from the perspective of Mexican media or whatever that talks about this, send it to me.
I sent you that reel like weeks ago. The thing is, like,
article.
yeah, I think that it was only released like fairly recently in Mexico. The studio held back from opening in Mexico until recently. They wanted to, like, hey, let's just leave it, let's just go to the rest of the markets. Let's go to even Spanish-speaking countries, and this could be for free, like, to be released in Mexico, because 80% of the movie is in Spanish. You didn't have to dub it or do anything. But I think that they already knew that it's like, this may rub the wrong way. Let's just wait a tiny bit.
I'd be very curious to hear your boyfriend's perspective, honestly. I wouldn't ask him to watch it, but I would like to hear somebody's from Mexico.
Would you recommend Emilia Pérez?
No, you're the only person I know that watches musicals, and you've seen it, so...
Did you watch it with your husband?
No.
Okay. Would you recommend it to your husband? I mean, he tolerates musicals.
Does he? I would not recommend it to him, and I don't know. I'll ask him about the musicals.
Okay. I don't think that I would recommend this to anyone.
You said your parents liked it, right? Overall?
Yes, but my parents like melodramas, and they try to find like the good in everyone. So I was expecting, when my mother started talking about, I like it, I was expecting, yeah, because life is like that. It's like, yeah, no, life is not like that. Thankfully, or I don't know if that's bad, but it's like life is not like that. Is that you cannot be like the head of a cartel that transitions and then you open an NGO about that. I'm sorry, I don't want to live in this world.
The thing that I wondered about your parents, and it's nothing particularly about them, it's anyone, is just how it gets a little bit graphic about medically transitioning. So I was just curious how people would receive that, and not just your parents, but anybody.
Yeah, no, we didn't talk too much about that part. It was more about like exactly what we're discussing. About like, now that you transition, you expect that a transgender person to become like a better version of themselves. And now we see with Karla Sofía Gascón that is like, well, your past is still chasing you down. So,
is she famous, by the way? Is she a big deal in Spain?
I didn't know of her,
okay.
But just think that I haven't lived there for a very, very long time. So
I was just curious because sometimes, like, when we watch Almodovar films, you're like, oh, this woman's, like, very celebrated in Spain, or I just didn't know if she was, like, a household name, or...
I don't think so. I'm checking. Yeah, I think that she may have transitioned between 16 and 19. 2016 and 2019.
Oh, so recent.
Yeah, fairly recent. And I didn't know her before she transitioned. And just checking everything that she did. Nope. A lot of roles for TV, like small stuff. Yeah. But yeah, I cannot think about, like, in any scenario what I would recommend this movie. Because if it's a musical, is that there are like hundreds of them better. If they actually ask me, I want to see a non-conventional musical, I would go with Dancer in the Dark hundreds of times before thinking about this one. So, no. Would you remember Emilia Pérez?
Let's go with yes. I don't know, to be honest. I could just completely forget this in a year, but my idea is yes.
I'm going to go with no, but I'm also on the same page about maybe I remember it, but not because it's memorable, it's because of the controversy associated with it. That now my brain is a bit more of because of this conversation, I know that we can no longer be friends, you know? So I want
This
to go
is the
live.
final episode of Cinematic.
This is the final episode, so I would probably remember this. Yeah, I still have a friend. I don't remember his name, but he liked Emilia Pérez. So,
Oh no, I want to be clear. I enjoyed myself. I don't think it was a great film. Just to be clear.
okay, that's fair. Is there anything artistic about it?
Yes, and this is just coming from someone who doesn't know musicals, but I thought the musical numbers overall were inspired. The choreography, the lighting and stuff, the kind of takes you to this abstraction world sometimes. I was super into it. I thought it was cool.
I'm going to go with yes, too. Sadly because of that. Some of the numbers I felt like the choreography was fine. Other ones, they were like super cringe. As someone that likes musicals, they're like, if this is the best that you can do, good. You're making Annette look like groundbreaking.
Can I ask, since you've seen this and Wicked, did you find any of Wicked dancing cringe?
No, because it was trying to be the classic Broadway,
Got it.
style. So the production was like pretty good. This felt like a bit more like you're trying to be grittier and more unfiltered, but it doesn't work like that either. So you end up being a bit, because sometimes it's like, oh, you also want to be more like a classical musical when they go to the to see one of the medical centers.
Oh yeah, the Thailand one, right?
Yeah, it feels like, oh, you want to go like with a classical musical style, like big Hollywood production, but you don't land it either. So you're a bit in between both worlds. That it feels like, hey, you are between classic Hollywood and high school production.
There's definitely, in my opinion, some consistency issues, exactly like what you just pointed out. But it goes throughout, and it's not always inconsistent in the same way. Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, so I agree with you. The first one, it may be the best. So Saldana, like, was it so conflicting into, oh, I'm going to win, but maybe I shouldn't.
What did you think about when they meet in London for the first time, Rita and Emilia? And do you remember they're at a dinner party?
Yeah.
And they have the realization, and the room goes dark, and it's just the two. Oh, I thought that was so well done. I thought it was so cool.
That was well done. I think that he played pretty well with light for just like changing the setup, But whatever. I mean, I've seen like that, like done like many times. I saw it like in La La Land, done like pretty well too. He abused of it quite a lot. Yeah. So it's almost like, hey, I'm going to be like watching 10 movies. Do you remember that we discussed about Todd Field and Kate Blanchett about like, hey, they became obsessed with classical music into about like how to portray it and how to talk about it.
Yes.
I think that Jacques Audiard watched 10 musicals. He went like to BuzzFeed and he got like a list of 10 musicals. and then he was like, I can make a musical. I'm ready. So I'm going to go with yes on there. There is something artistic. I don't think that is something important, but it's artistic at least.
That's a really good way to describe the film.
Yep. Is it a timeless piece?
This question is difficult. Yeah, please give your answer.
I'm going to go with yes. From the
Timeless?
perspective that is like timeless. Okay. Because it's a Greek tragedy. It's true that it's like a set up on nowadays, but I had the feeling that he's more concerned into the story of if you connect with your inner self, can you actually leave your past behind, or is your past always going to be chasing you down, or you even like revisiting it?
It's true, and even though like trans issues are the issue of our day right now, none of the transness in this film is politicized. It's not about like it's so it'll be separate from that. Yep.
Yeah, I want to clarify that we're saying like issue from the perspective of it's a topic that right now is being discussed more than it was in the past.
Yeah, it's like the civil rights issue of our day is trying to give protections. Okay. That's what I'm talking about. It's just
yeah.
20 years ago it was gay marriage. Now it's trans rights.
Yeah. No, that's fair. So you could go with yes?
Yes.
Okay. Could you turn Emilia Pérez into a TV show?
Nope. I mean, I'm just done with it at this point. I'm never going to touch the film again. I don't want to consider it for other formats.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe there is some way of turning it into a TV show. I'm not interested in discovering it. 2 hours, 15 minutes was enough. More than enough for me. Could this have been a short?
That's a tough question. My guess is probably. Let's just put no. I think it.
Okay.
No.
I'm going to go with yes. I mean, you have to remove like a lot of stuff, and maybe you can remove Selena Gomez altogether. No, I'm joking. But it's like I had a feeling that it's a fatiguing what you want to say is a story of someone, mafia boss, transitioning to woman tries to become a better person, her past catches up to her, and everything goes to shit. It's like, yeah, you can do it in less than an hour.
Yeah, it's true. I was gonna say something, but no spoilers. So just
No,
think
no
that I had a good joke.
You can tell me later. You can tell me later. We can when we open our own Patreon. Is that maybe we can do like extras, outtakes, with all of the jokes that we couldn't say on the air. And last question: do you think that Emilia Pérez could have been better?
Yes.
How?
Period. No, there are some pretty big problems, like really big problems, with even just the script. Let's just start there. Like, they need to fix whatever the hell was happening with Selena Gomez's character, because it was just one of the biggest messes I've seen on screen in a long time.
But it was because of the casting or because of the character?
I think all of it. I think that
Yes.
Selena Gomez can't really sing or act, and
Fair.
but also I don't think she was given much to work with in that story.
Yeah, I had the feeling that the character that she had, it was, I don't know, bad. Just bad. So, yeah, maybe the actress was on par with the character.
I don't know. I really wanted to be careful because I don't like her. I wanted to be careful I wasn't hating her storyline because she was Selena Gomez, and I really don't think that's the problem.
No.
Yeah.
No, it's not. It's not. It's a bit of a combination of both. And I think that Saldana and Karla Sofía Gascón, they play better and they may hide a bit better like the problems that this script has all around. So I agree with you. This could have been better. Selena Gomez, the first thing to go out. The second one, the whole script. And I start over.
What did you think of Zoe Saldana, just overall?
I thought that she was okay. I think that Karla Sofía Gascón was better.
Yeah, agreed.
So, and it's cool that she actually played both roles. She also played the masculine manitas. So, but beyond that, I don't know. This may be like an unsolvable movie. What about like, start again, think again exactly what you want to do with this movie, have a clear idea, and then let's talk again. And then let's actually not do it because you're frivolizing like this wall.
I'd be curious to look into the other two credited writers just to see their backstory, because maybe they had promise.
Yeah. Maybe. So we score, and this was my pick. So I guess that you will have to score it first.
This honestly was a difficult score for me. I'm going to go with 5.5. I think it's good. I think it's more interesting than most films, but just really, really big problems.
I'm going to go with a 3.5. I think that those problems... Yeah, I think that those problems are like pretty big. And there are not so many times that I watch a movie that I wish that it hadn't been made.
Wow. Put that on the movie poster.
I wish that I hadn't. Yeah, I'm sorry. This may be like a bit rude towards Jacques Audiard, but it just feels like the kind of movie they would have done like 30 years ago that it didn't have like any contact with reality. I don't want to. Yeah, I don't want to just like compare it with doing blackface. But I think that in 10, 15 years, we're going to be like looking at this movie and saying like, what the fuck were we thinking?
Who paid for this movie? I'd love to hear that. And how many Oscar nominations did it get?
I think that is 13 nominations.
Oof, wow.
This is going to be the crash of this decade.
Well, that'll be interesting. We should place odds for the Oscars.
Yeah. I mean, it is nominated, like 3 of the nominations, they're like the musical ones, I think. So, makeup and hairstyling, sound, best motion picture of the year, best achievement in directing, performance by actress and supporting actress, adapted screenplay.
It was adapted from what?
I don't know, man. I don't know. But, yeah. Thomas Birgang and Linisus. Yeah. Yeah, so, yeah, the Oscars are coming up. Hopefully this podcast goes out.
Before the Oscars.
Like before the Oscars. But yeah, these definitely wouldn't have been in my list of the best movies that I watched. I mean, it wasn't, because I watched it in
You don't
2024.
know. There's still 11 months of 2025. Next year you might
No.
surprise
I watched
yourself.
it in 2024. I watched it in 2024,
Oh, you did?
and it was not in my list. You know?
Oh, there you go.
So, yeah. All right, to everyone out there, thank you so much for putting up with us. Remember, like, subscribe, 5-star. Tell all your coworkers that maybe they shouldn't watch Emilia Pérez, but they should listen to us.
And until next time.
Bye.